and started working for Direct Wines, which was a great place to cut one's teeth on the outbound sales team there, where funnily enough I worked with Stuart Young. But as a half American, and that being a Californian portion on my mum's side, I'd always had a love for Californian wines. And that was something I've never really sort of felt was represented properly over here. And throughout my career, wanted to get closer and closer to California, but say over here, it was never understood. It was sort of 3 for £10, or it was Screaming Eagle, and nothing in between. And so it came to time where Stuart and I had been working together again at another company in London. And we decided, okay, this is the moment, this is the time to do it. There's a fantastic sort of gap in the market. One place where you're going to find wines at the top level, where there's a real excitement, where people who are drinking Grand Cru Burgundy or First Growth Bordeaux can, find that journey again, is California. There's a place to go exploring there, to drink at the same level and not instead of. We never say, drink this instead of Bordeaux. If you love great Cabernet or love great Pinot Noir from Burgundy, you should share these together. So we wanted to go out and work with the producers who are doing that in California, producing these amazing wines, small quantities, a fantastic story, the highest sort of quality that you can find, but really on a very sort of small, exclusive basis. And presented the idea of bringing back their wines almost as an extension of their allocation list for private clients in the UK. And that's how we formulated the idea, and to represent them as a proper importer, to be able to offer the wines at their winery release price. And we want to deal with people who are drinking the wines. We have sort of high net worth people who are consumers, not collectors, not hoarders, not investors, people who are drinking the wines with their friends. So that was important to us. And it's a phenomenal place to work. The wines are amazing. It's sort of an endless potential and horizon for experimentation, for the love of what people do out there, and the sense of community from Santa Barbara to Alexander Valley is very, very strong. So it makes it a wonderful place to work. And with about just 55 or so wineries we work with now, and every one of them is there for a particular reason. We're very, very specific about the criteria. More than anything else is the fact that we have to have tried the wines and both enjoyed them. Both out there in the California, where it's very easy to be seduced by sort of fountains and sunshine and coastlines and this sort of atmosphere. It's important to come back and taste it in the office under the sort of buzzing lights and make sure that you're still as excited about the wines. That's the biggest criteria of anything, and also the people. But we've weighted everything, so we have a few wineries where we can work with a larger volume, where we can work with allocations with our trade and on-trade partners in the UK as well, so there's great opportunities of growth there. But a lot of these, where we're looking at much sort of smaller producers, are offering very specific, unique approaches to regions or sub-regions. You end up being able to produce a fantastically diverse picture of one region with a very carefully selected a group of wineries, and within each of those work on the portfolio, from the single vineyard wines of the smaller productions to their entry-level AVA wines, or village wines if you like. And as we're talking about something so specific, people will come to us. If you want to talk about great Burgundy, there's some expert merchants that you can pick from and get a really great sort of breadth of information and great access throughout London, but just a few who can tell this particular story of the West Coast. The majority of what we were doing, and the breakdown of these sales channels from the start, had always been geared towards private clients. It was important that it would be all too easy to get the listings for a wine at a restaurant in London. Almost sort of a vanity thing, but very difficult to see a push through, but also for somebody's first exposure to a brand they perhaps hadn't heard of. To see it at quite an aggressive markup. £1,000 where it should be 200 for their first, that reinforces a lot of the negative, very sort of incorrect old stereotypes that people have of California, too expensive and all these sorts of things. So we wanted to avoid that. So we were working directly with private consumers, really, to start with, people who were going to pull the corks on the wines, not people who were buying them to lay down, the idea of had to wait 10 or 15 years to drink a bottle, which is fair enough in a lot of regions like Bordeaux where the wines need that time to resolve, that's fine. In California, naturally, where you embrace the environment, the terroir of the wines, they are much more approachable early on. It's just the nature of how they are, and they age differently. The fruit ages rather than the savoury notes in Bordeaux, which is why they're fantastic to sort of enjoy alongside each other. But we wanted to work with people who were going to drink the wines, be able to understand them, and perhaps even then approach the restaurants, these on-premise accounts, because you're really short on your list here. And then with the on-trade accounts, as we grew those, they were very sort of specific. We don't deal with wines where there's volumes to shift a pallet every quarter, where you can have something on a special deal. We're not looking at those wines. We're looking at often where there's a case or two available. And so it's about the on-premise accounts working out what they need to satiate their sort of volume there. So we're going to spend a lot of time with the teams to work through ranges and place the wines with the right people and know that they're going to be excited and enthusiastic. We can work with people in the trade, people who we've worked with previously, friends or merchants that we've come to know well, who are looking to expand their portfolio of Californian wines. They come to us for that. And when there's wines, they can work on a larger volume on allocations to present to their clients. We know that if we go spend the time with them, they'll be able to talk about the wines in the right way, especially how the wineries want the wines represented, at the right pricing, so they can work with us to help make sure everybody's on an even keel, that you don't start generating sort of the grey markets that make it so difficult as a consumer and a merchant to support. But with our expertise and our pure focus on California and our desire really to help everybody increase their understanding from an educational level through to the experiential level, I think it's really important to play any role we can within that. And obviously that's a big part of that is involved in placing the wines with the right people, but it's also being there as a resource to answer that, whether it's a friend or peer of ours within the trade, or sommeliers, or just clients who want to come to us with, to find out more information. It's important to have that role. So when we first really began processing things within the company to 2016, we were working really from Excel on a sort of a SharePoint system and Vision at LCB, but obviously there was no formal communication between those, and it expanded and expanded and expanded, and we knew that we were looking at a huge gap in the market with massive potential, but that was realised almost quicker than we'd anticipated. So things grew at a huge rate, which is fantastic, but to keep up with that became harder and harder. And all of a sudden the volumes, we'd predicted that we'd have a few hundred cases. That's what we'd sort of predicted LCB here, and then that went out the door pretty quickly. It became thousands and thousands. And storage came into play as well, and we realised so quickly that this was a very, very risky path to take in terms of self-auditing all of these things, making sure we could have the information to correct and present it back to clients as well. So we'd been looking really for the right system to do that. And the concept, the idea of working with Hub, we looked at things like Salesforce as well, but a huge attraction to us was the experience within the team already within the wine industry. There was an inherent understanding of what people were going to want, what the demands would be, what the pitfalls would be. Even running our own website previously off an online sort of system required a few sort of stapling things together figuratively in the background to make the difference between bond and duty paid, even simple things like that work. Let alone storage and so on, and delivery within different regions and so on. So it was really vital to us that we had a system where all of this could be in one place, where it could all communicate, where we could actually have this information live across these different parts of the business. And ultimately the early concepts and the promise of Wine Hub was just seemed exactly what we were looking for, and the only people who were really, I think, truly having a bespoke system within the industry, and that's what was really important to us. So there's key factors which are really important within what we do, which fall brilliantly and encompassed by the sort of Wine Hub environment. First and foremost, we are an importer, and we're an agent for our 50 or more wineries at the moment, and it's so important more than anything that our representation of those wineries is second to none. That means providing all the information in a very accessible way. It means being able to link the wines together. It means being able to change the nomenclature often, which you'll find on Elwyn and things like that, maybe quite a rough name. Often they'll take what's literally on the bottle versus how the wineries would want a name presented. That's one example where we have the freedom to quickly edit that down into the correct way that it's presented, and then live onto the website straight away. but also to be able to present the producer pages, to have that depth. For us, it's really, really important that we can offer that same level of integrity and attention to detail for every single winery, from Sloan Estate to the sort of small, artisanal producers making a few hundred cases. So that's really important to us. So having the ability to input that data, manipulate it, update it, have it live, I think is very, very important for the website. It also helps us, we're really allocating these wines at the top end as an extension of the allocation lists at these wineries. So it enables us to track that very, very closely to make sure that the wines are going into the right hands at the right point of release. So it's given us phenomenal depth in that respect now. We can follow everything from the collection to it landing, to it being an LCB on rotation, have this all in harmony with what's showing on the website, with how we want things listed, whether we do or don't want things listed at the moment. So the idea of entering into that was just fantastic for us, and has given us a whole new level, I think, of control and freedom in how we present the wines at the most sort of straightforward level. It's offered us a great front door. It's offered us a really sort of great first impression for people who want to come find us. But I think for people to come and actually interact and place an order through the website is much easier than it ever has been. It's a very smooth process for them, and it's worked very, very well for us so far. And we found both new customers coming in who will then take the time to phone and contact and sort of bring them into a much more sort of hands-on, one-to-one approach moving forward, when we can really tailor the service to them. But also some of our clients like using both channels as well, and that's quite, I think, offers a whole new ease for some of them who are keen to hear direct from us when there's a new allocation released, or a small volume of something we think might be really suited to them, versus when they can sit back on a Saturday and have a bit of a browse and take the time to look around. So we found, I think it's probably opened up both avenues, both new customers and the experience of our existing ones as well. And the online portal for looking at what's stored, history, order history and stuff, I think is an important level of professional presentation as well. I think it's important for clients to know that there's that depth and that trust that they can have in us as well. We would always say with absolute integrity, if a wine's ended up on our list, it's because we've loved it and tried it, and it means the same to us at £30 a bottle as it does to 300 or £500 a bottle. Every single one of those has been there because we've tried it and it's had something exciting to offer. There's no crossover between even wines from one or two from the same vineyard. They're there because they're chalk and cheese in terms of their style. It's the expression. So everything that's on there should be as exciting for consumers to go through that experience as well. I should add that one of the other useful things which we've worked with on a hub, I think, to apply to the website is being able to virtually split cases where it's appropriate, where it's an OWC of a very small production of a highly allocated wine, then of course we won't, but where we've 12 packs of these, beautiful Pinot Noirs, Chardonnays, Cabernets, that we want people to be able to, actually that sounds pretty interesting. The gateway wines, we often refer to them as the sort of the gateway drugs for these estates, to get people really sort of excited about what they're about without necessarily dipping in at the very top end. Where most of our clients are perfectly capable of doing that, but it's about having the excitement. But also to say, I'm quite happy drinking £200 a bottle, but I'm intrigued that these guys have picked up a Zinfandel Syrah blend from western part of Paso Robles, like that. That must be there for a reason. Why is that? So I've got to give it a go. It can't be what I think it is. And so it's about challenging people in a sort of a fun, interactive kind of way to do it. So I think it's having that level of I suppose being creative with the way that we can list the wines as well makes it quite an interesting experience for clients. We have entered over the last 6 months, I think, very broadly speaking, quite a difficult time for people. But I think over this period of time, California it's had this growth leading up to this stage. And I think people are still looking at it now when Bordeaux as an entrepreneur is really not the prospect it used to be. And I dare say ever since really probably 2010 vintage was released, it's been playing catch up, and I think has really struggled, which is a shame because I firmly believe that the market needs Bordeaux to be strong. It's sort of like cricket needs a good West Indies team to be exciting. It's one of these things. I think Bordeaux will hopefully sort of re-find its position as well. I think it's lost its identity a little bit within the market. Burgundy, obviously, I think we've had quite a positive campaign at the moment, which I think is absolutely vital. But I think perhaps it's made people step back a little bit and look at the market a bit more broadly. What is value in the context of these different markets, the different countries? It's always sort of in the eye of the beholder or the consumer to a degree.